Welcome to the Hangar Z Inflight podcast, brought to you by Vertical Helicasts. For this in-flight recording, my family is fortunate enough to take a flight with Blue Hawaiian Helicopters on the island of Kauai. Kauai is Hawaii's fourth largest island and is sometimes called the Garden Island, which is an entirely accurate description. It's the oldest and northernmost island in the Hawaiian chain and is draped in emerald valleys, sharp mountain spires, and jagged cliffs, aged by time and the elements. For the flight, we got the opportunity to fly with Robert Strong, whose passion for aviation has been woven into the very fabric of his life from an early age. Growing up on Air Force bases and with a grandfather who piloted his own Cessna 182, Robert's fascination with flight ignited at the tender age of 4 years old. However, his path to the cockpit was far from straightforward. After high school, Robert enlisted in the Army, believing it to be his ticket to the pilot seat. But the events of 9/11 altered his trajectory, and upon leaving the military in 2011, the dream of flight seemed increasingly distant. Undeterred, Robert ventured into entrepreneurship and opened a business as a firearms instructor for law enforcement agencies. Yet, a life-altering accident left him wheelchair-bound for nearly a year, challenging his resolve once more. With unwavering support from his incredible wife, Robert reignited his pursuit of flight school. Enrolling at Southern Utah University in Cedar City, he earned all of his aviation certificates, eventually becoming a senior tech airman at the institution. This role not only allowed him to hone his skills, but also led to a unique opportunity to serve as a deputized pilot for the Iron County Sheriff's Department, piloting their Bell 407 helicopter for various tactical, patrol, and search and rescue missions. The experiences garnered through his tenure at SUU in Iron County paved the way for Robert's next chapter, flying with Blue Hawaiian in Kauai. Though the journey to the cockpit was longer and more arduous than he ever imagined, Robert's love for aviation remains undiminished. Today, he stands as a testament to the power of perseverance and the fulfillment that comes from realizing one's dreams, no matter the obstacles faced along the way. Join us as we depart from the Lahui Airport and fly across one of the Earth's most beautiful islands on Blue Hawaiian's Airbus EC-130 EcoStar helicopter.
All right, everybody, we just got our clearance. We are out of here.
Blue Hawaiian has been leading the helicopter tour industry in Hawaii since 1985 and is the only one that serves all four major Hawaiian islands, Oahu, Maui, Kauai, and the Big Island. From its beginning, the Aloha spirit has guided the principles of their business. On this awe-inspiring helicopter tour of Kauai, we flew over the natural beauty that encompasses Kauai. We explored one of the waterfalls often referred to as Jurassic Park Falls, which is in the gorgeous Hanapepe Valley. We flew over the Waimea Canyon, dubbed the Grand Canyon of the Pacific. We explored the magical 3,000-foot sea cliffs of the Nepali coast and the pristine turquoise blue waters of Hanalei Bay. Before climbing up to the peak of Mount Waialeale, at over 5,000 feet, it is one of the world's wettest spots, averaging over 450 inches of rainfall annually. To record this in-flight podcast, Blue Hawaiian was gracious enough to let us utilize their camera system they've embedded into the helicopters. We also utilized their ICS recording system. Enjoy the flight. Cheers.
All right, everybody doing okay?
Yeah, doing great.
All right, well, we're starting off with a little bit of show directly off our left right here. We got a whale breaching.
That's cool.
Too bad we can't fly over there. That's on the approach path at the runway.
Minor inconvenience.
Yeah. But they're out and about, so.
Hope it's cool if you want to walk through the podcast.
All right, let's do it.
All right, welcome to the Hangar Z podcast, the Blue Hawaiian edition. Happy to be flying over the island of Kauai with Blue Hawaiian Helicopters. Got Robert Strong. How you doing, Robert?
Doing fantastic. How about you, John?
Yeah, awesome. We got my entire family with us. How you doing, great family?
Doing great. Excited to be here.
Yeah, so Vertical had the opportunity to do a photo shoot at an oracle on you guys. So I thought it was a good chance for us to come out here and fly with you guys and see what you do and see what all the buzz is about with Blue Hawaiian. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, the office scenery does not get any better than this. For real.
Yeah, so let's talk about how you wound up at Blue Hawaiian and what your experience has been here.
So I came out here for a few different things. So big thing is I have a daughter with special needs, and she needed to get out of the mountains in Utah and get to something a little bit more suitable. So that started the search for a few places, and there's not a whole lot of places that met the needs that she needed physically. This was one of them. Luckily, we'd actually had a vacation already planned out here And we came out here on vacation. I was lucky enough to do some job interviews out here. I know quite a few pilots. There's 9 SU trained pilots in Kauai, myself included. So I knew some pilots that were out here already.
Robert, what is that you?
So it's SU, Southern Utah University. And so I came out here, visited an old coworker of mine. Her and my wife are really good friends. And I got a job offer with a few other companies while I was out here, but she flies for another company here on the island, and she straight up told me, you got an offer for Blue, you take it for Blue. And that's kind of the mentality here on the islands. Everybody's trying to work to get to Blue Hawaiian. And a lot of that has to do with the airframes that we're flying. So we're in an EC-130 right now, but we have the most advanced avionics package out of any other helicopters out here in the islands. So everybody else is flying 6-packs. I was told all through flight school and stuff, you're never going to get this type of equipment when you get out of the industry. Here we go, right here. So, we've got synthetic vision. We've got all kinds of things. If we happen to go inadvertent IMC, which hopefully we do everything to avoid that, but almost all of the fatality accidents here in Hawaii were due to that. Blue has put a huge financial investment into our equipment to help us get out of here. So we're also the most experienced pilots here in the island. So most places only want 1,000 hours to come out here. Blue wants 2,500.
Talking about how the flying you did at SUU and what the sheriff's department kind of helped.
Yeah, so out here it's a low level, but it's very mountainous terrain. So training up in the mountains and doing that kind of stuff and learning how to manipulate the helicopter and keep it really tight really helps me provide a really amazing tour for people. And I really like that. My comfort level in the aircraft was grown really, really high at the beginning just because it's like, all right, I know this type of flying. Different application, but still the same type. So we got Waipoho Falls right here. This is part of Waimea. You can actually hike to the top of that.
I know when you're in flight school, you're never supposed to fly to trim. So when you start one out of trim on purpose, it seems weird.
Very weird. Yeah, that's something that you know just as well as I do, that a lot of times doing some law enforcement stuff, you got to be able to just kick it out of trim, use your pedals a little bit more, but you got to understand the aircraft before you can do all that.
Robert, to get up to those valves, you talked about the hike. Where did the hike take off from, and what is the length of the hike?
So it's about 3.5 miles round trip, and it takes off from the second overlook from Waimea. So there's a road over here on this ridge line right here. The second overlook is called the Canyon Trail, and I'll take you to the top of the falls. It's not a bad hike. My 12-year-old's done it. So.
We talked about some of the challenges of flying in Kauai earlier, but, with the weather and terrain that you have here, the winds, can you kind of talk through what that's like?
Yeah, so weather is definitely the big thing here. It changes faster than any place I've ever seen. I've actually grew up on Oahu, where my dad was in the service, and I spent over 8 years on Oahu. And coming back out here, yesterday was a prime example. We had 3 great flights, and then the weather came in, and we had to cancel 2, and then it went away. In 18 minutes, we timed it yesterday. The Blue Hawaiian Airport was reporting IFR, the 10 statute miles visibility in 18 minutes. And that's how fast it clears up. It's just like, okay. And then how the islands are formed when we get winds coming out of the west, that changes things exponentially, and you get very turbulent very quickly. So you've got to learn how to read the winds and manipulate the aircraft around all these really deep valleys that are just stacked one on top of the other. And that's where my mountain time will really come in. I was like, okay, I know how to do this. And so we've had some people, not necessarily with Blue, but that are on the flight line that we've talked to, You know, they're like, oh, I came out of here from San Diego. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be a learning curve for you. But
Yeah, much different style of flying from San Diego to here.
yeah, very, very different. My favorite thing is, we have 9 different tour operators here on the island. All the pilots here, we all know each other. We all know each other's families. And, once we get, the other big challenge out here is this is a very, very busy airspace, and it's golf. So we're all just communicating with each other and coordinating with each other. And that makes a very hectic cockpit workload. So, I mean, on a normal tour, I'm narrating a tour, I'm dealing with the music, we've got cameras on board, I'm deconflicting my airspace, I'm making my radio calls. So there's a lot going on, plus trying to fly the terrain on top of it. So
Yeah, it's kind of like the LA basic, foreign LA basic. There's helicopters everywhere.
Yeah.
It's all uncontrolled, so you're deconflicting yourself.
yeah,
Like you're talking about, but you don't have the terrain issues and the weather issues you have here.
yeah. I mean, at one point yesterday, I had 9 other helicopters within 2 miles of me. So all trying to do a tour, all trying to fly around here. So it makes it fun and challenging.
As we took off before we started recording, I believe there is a whale offshore. Can you talk about some of the wildlife you see on all the new flight?
Yeah, so we're in whale season here right now. So Hawaii is a birthing grounds and a mating ground for humpback whales. So we see humpbacks on a lot of flights during this time of the year. I've seen some tiger sharks from the air and manta rays. I've seen a whale shark. Those are all things I never, ever thought I would see from my office. It just blows my mind. So I am the safety officer for the island of Kauai on top of being a line pilot. So that has some few extra roles as well. So I do inspections at the base, make sure all of our equipment is up to date and to code and all that kind of stuff. I'm also the first line in a lot of cases there. If something, a pilot needs something or a maintainer needs something or something along those lines, it generally comes to me and I can start working those channels to get, I had a maintainer yesterday. They're like, hey, we have a radio out in our Princeville base that we use to talk to them. They're like, it's not working right. Oh, okay. Well, we can get on that. So they generally come to me on that. And then we have our chief of safety out in Maui, and he comes out here quite a bit. Actually, his name is Chris Cady. He's on his way here today, actually. And the team here is just second to none. That has been a big thing. Coming from the military and doing law enforcement stuff, everything's team-based. And that was a big thing coming out here. Just being in a strictly civilian role, that mentality didn't go away. And that was really, really nice to see. It's what I know and what I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, that team culture is not created by accident. It's definitely intentional.
Yeah, and it's important because it's not just the pilot that makes the flight successful. And yeah, I've talked to a lot of people over my years in aviation. They're like, oh, well, it's my responsibility as the pilot. Oh, yeah, but there's a lot of hands that touch that flight that you may not know. There's dispatchers, there's safety people, there's maintainers, there's the pilot, there's ground staff, and everything that goes into that to make that flight successful. And when it's not one person. If you don't trust your team, you got a problem.
Yeah, I love that. And everybody's passionate about it. Maintainers, they're super passionate about what they're doing. And you go, a little deeper and you look at the folks that are doing the R&D on a lot of the equipment that we have on board. By following up behind us, we were talking about the seatbelts. Helped develop these seatbelts, working at Pacific Scientific, and everybody again going back to the passion and desire to make the thing better. It's just really cool to see the innovation and technology and how that's changing the game.
Well, the really cool thing that I've always found is, you get people who have a tie into aviation. My grandfather got me hooked on aviation when I was super little, and he always said that aviation was the bug that there was no cure for. And getting in a helicopter today, Kevin was like, oh, well, I mean, the pride of, I helped him with these seatbelts and they'll do the R&D on it. That never goes away. And I always find that so fascinating when you get people that'll do that. I've had, actually right around the corner here, had a retired Vietnam soldier. There was an Air Cav guy, and there was a Black Hawk that was out here flying. and I made a call to him. They came up and flew right next to us because of him. Yeah, and it was just no other community is like that. They're like, oh, we want to go do that. Cool, let's go. Yeah, it's so fun. Yeah, if you're not having fun in aviation, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, for sure. You brought up a little bit ago, actually maybe we were talking offline about the network that Blue Hawaiian has across the islands. Obviously, you're not just operating here in Kauai. Can you talk about some of the offerings that exist across the island chain?
Yeah, so we're the only operator that operates on all 4 major islands. We even do some flights out to some remote stuff like Molokai and I out in Maui and stuff along those lines. So there's a lot of operators in the Hawaiian Islands. A lot of them only operate on one island, sometimes 2. We're the only ones that are out here. We're the big company out here. But that comes with a lot of responsibility too. So, with being generally the more experienced pilots out here, that's not always the case. I mean, we have pilots with other companies that are 30,000 hours, something along those lines. But when Blue's helicopters are sitting on the ground due to weather, people take note of that, and they're like, oh, maybe I should be going. Or Blues are flying, they're like, hey, it's probably good because, that experience level. I have 5 former students that fly out here. And just like when I was their instructor, they still look at me going, hey, should I go? And they call me and they talk to me. They come down the flight line like, so what are you thinking, Rob? That didn't go away when they stopped becoming students. And I have 2 former instructors on this island that were my instructors. And I still look at them, years and years later, I still look at them and going, hey, that's pretty amazing for me. I love that. But the community of pilots and maintainers, and they're like, whatever was needed, and here we go. And that was really cool to see. And then, when the island in Maui, as tour pilots, we make our living on people traveling here. Well, Maui really had a slowdown. Well, those pilots were coming out here and flying with us, or they were going to another island, and it was open arms. It was like, all right, here, come out, and we'll come fly here. It goes back to that community. There's just second to none.
Yeah, you got this community of pilots, and then also part of the larger Hawaiian community. It's really neat to see helicopters now universally applicable they are for so many different things. So it's cool to see all the different mission profiles you can help support, in that crisis. It's really cool.
Yeah, we have one pilot. We've talked about it quite a bit, but they flew an aircraft full of pizzas from Oahu to Lahaina. And I was just like, that would be an interesting flight. So a 130 just like this, pulled seats out, and then filled it with pizzas and flew them across the ocean. I'm like, that'd be an interesting one. They won't miss a slice or 2.
Yeah, it'd be a tormenting to smell it across the whole flight.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you go to get pizza and you put it in your car, it smells like pizza for a couple days afterwards.
Yeah, I'm sure it was so interesting. So we're going to come over here and take a look at a waterfall called Namakama. Now, this waterfall is coming straight off the top of the mountain here. It's over 2,000 feet tall. That's pretty small, isn't it, Pete?
Yeah, only 2,000 feet.
Yeah.
We were back here, I think, was it Monday? And these mountains are all obscured by clouds.
Yeah. So, that comes into the center of Kauai being one of the wettest spots on Earth. So a lot of the weather develops on the center of the island, and then depending on the wind direction, gets blown around. And the last few days have been kind of unique, where the entire island was encapsulated with clouds and low ceilings, which when you have cliff bases like this that are 2,000, in some aspects 3,000, depending on where you're at in the island, they go straight up, and the ceilings are at 1,500. That makes things even more challenging, because you're like, all right, well, now I've got half of this terrain feature that disappears into the clouds.
I can imagine all these ridge lines, when you have high winds, the turbulence coming off it's got to be pretty severe.
Yeah, and that's where, being able to apply the terrain and see what that wind's doing really comes in handy.
Well, I think they're the Kona winds. Is that what they were called?
Yeah, so when we have Kona winds, that means they're coming out of the west or the southwest of the island. They hit these ridges, and the ridges are a lot steeper on the west side than what they are on the east side, where we normally have traditional trade winds here in Hawaii. And that makes a huge difference in the environment here. When the island likes the trade winds, and even at 35, 40 knot winds, trades, it's pretty smooth. We get 15 knot Konas, and you're getting bumped around, and it's, you come from an environment where you're like, oh, it's only 15, 20 knots. It's not that big of a deal. Coming out of the west here in Kauai, that is a huge deal. And if you don't take that seriously, you can actually damage a helicopter with that.
Yeah, we have a similar phenomenon in Southern California with the Santa winds.
Yeah.
They're very turbulent, a lot of crosswinds. Yeah.
A lot of wind shear and stuff along those lines. And so we're actually going to take a rare opportunity for us. So right in front of us is Mount Waialeale. This is the wettest spot on Earth, or one of them anyways. This is the spot that gets over 450 inches of rain every day, or every year. But normally this is encapsulated in clouds. Well, we're going to fly to the top of the island today. So
Percentage-wise, how often does this happen?
5% maybe. Yeah, I've been flying out here for a year. This is maybe my 20th time coming up here. Sure.
Wow, that's crazy.
And I've done hundreds of flights out here. So let's go take a look at the Waialeale crater. So this is the remnants of the volcano that built this beautiful island of ours.
As you narrate that, I'll just interject with some of the movie trivia that comes off this island. I know a ton of movies have been built here because it's so beautiful. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so almost all of the Jurassic Parks, almost all the Pirates of the Caribbean were all filmed here. One of the really cool things is Blue Hawaiian Helicopters were actually used with all those movies, whether it was support role or, actually in the movies. So in the Jurassic World movies, the Blue EC-130, that's a Blue Hawaiian bird. So, we use our aircraft quite a bit, and we've had a lot of support roles with the movies here. I mean, our chief pilot or our pilot supervisor here in Kauai, he's done quite a bit of it. He's been flying with Blue out here for 14, 15 years.
Man, that's cool. So this was the chamber that the...
Yep. So 3 billion years ago, there, right below us was the lava lake.
Amazing. It's so green, it seems big. Being from Southern California, we don't see a whole lot of this kind of greenery.
No, and honestly, there's still times where to me, it doesn't look real. And I see it 5 to 7 times a day, and I'm like, how is this a real thing? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
The waterfalls everywhere.
Yeah. I've never been able to count all the waterfalls on a flight. We're actually almost back to the Hui that's out in front of us, but since this is a special flight, everybody's kind of suffered through you and I talking, John. Let's throw in an extra waterfall or two for them.
I'll just thank you for bringing us out here, and really cool talking to you. I think Blue Hawaiian for the flight. Look forward to seeing the article that comes out.
Yeah.
Blue Hawaiian, the beautiful photos that came as a result of that, but hopefully we'll see it at HAI or one of the trade shows coming up.
Yeah, probably not this year, but definitely. I love HAI. Man. It's just a big kid toy store for me.
Yeah, it'll be good. Well, the next time I see you, I'll buy a beverage.
Yeah, sounds good. How much longer are you on the island?
We go home Saturday.
All right. Still got some time.
Yeah.
Well, the weather is going to be a lot better than what it was the last few days for you, so that's always nice. But these are the Waiahi Falls. This is the backside of the crater right here.
Can folks hike into the base plates?
You could if you were motivated enough.
Gotta imagine it's pretty thick and also steep to get in there.
Yeah, and there's no defined trail in here. So there is a trail into the middle of the crater. It's called the Blue Hole Trail. You have to have high clearance 4-wheel drive to even get to the trailhead. One of my neighbors is a professional hiking guide out here, and he said that is one of the hardest trails on the island, and that's saying something.
Well, again, thank you from MHM Publishing, the Hanger Z podcast, and and all of our fellow pilots in our community and aviation enthusiasts for bringing us by here. Appreciate it.
It's absolutely my pleasure. I love doing this stuff. For being able to fly with another pilot and their family, that's just icing on the cake for me. I don't get to do that very often, and it's a pleasure when I do.